So in just a moment we'll be chatting with Barry Goodman from Life and Times, who are in St Albans tonight. Let's have a listen to a little bit of their music first of all.
To Telford and others of fame, without their bold vision for transport, it's true, our landscape would not be the same. But thanks to the navvies, thanks to the Duke, to Jessup and all of his pals, these are the people we must thank the most, for they gave us all the canals. We'll hire us a narrow boat, we'll go in style, we'll travel the countryside mile after mile, we'll cruise over England from Yorkshire to Kent, as we travel the continent where the working boats went. 200 years on and the boatmen had gone and abandoned their boats in the mud. But with boats run aground there were many still found, led the waterways still in their blood. Their boats they refitted to cruise the canals, right from the south up to the north. With derision and scorn was the pleasure boat born, as upon the canals they set forth. We'll hire us a narrow boat, we'll go in style, we'll travel the countryside mile after mile, we'll cruise over England from Yorkshire to Kent, as we travel the continent where the working boats went.
Only 2.6 FM Radio for Elm now. Barry Goodman's on the phone. Hi there, Barry.
Hello, Phil. How are you doing?
All right, my old friend. And we go back many years because, gosh, it was something like 20-odd years ago when we were broadcasting on Radio Bedfordshire,
That's right.
with Graham.
That's it.
And Graham's the other half of it, so Graham Meek.
Graham Meek, that's right. Yes, the two of us make up Life and Times.
Now, Where the Working Boats Went is on tonight, as we said, in St Albans at the Maltings Arts Theatre. Starts at 8. What's it all about, Barry?
Well, Where the Working Boats Went is the story of the inland waterways of Britain. 250 years, or just over 250 years ago, the first inland waterway was built. It was the Bridgewater Canal, and it was built by the Duke of Bridgewater to take his coal from his pits at Worsley straight out of the pits and up to Manchester. And it reduced the price of the coal enormously because the transport costs were hugely reduced. And ever since then, the canals have been a part of Britain's heritage and history. There was a huge boom in canals after that first canal was built, which eventually meant that about 2,000 miles of canals were built in just 50 years, amazingly. And then after that, the railways came in, and the canals lost the trade, and it looked as if it was going to be the end for the canals for quite a while. And then, of course, we now have pleasure boating, which has revitalised the canal system, and
Great fun, yeah.
People are now bringing old canals back into life again, using the towpaths. Fishermen like it, walkers like it, and obviously people who like taking boats out enjoy it as well now.
Yeah, nice for a holiday. I've done it in the Norfolk Broads a few years ago. Definitely really enjoyable, as long as it's sunny anyway.
That's right, yes. Well, it's a very pleasant way of spending a holiday. Of course, back in the old days, the working boatman had a pretty hard life. And that's one of the things that we cover in the show. So the show is basically a mix of songs and drama. Graham and I play two boatmen who are talking about the canals and recounting stories about the canals, and it's interspersed with songs all the way through. So there's 17 musical items, most of which we've written ourselves, plus the scripts, which we've also written ourselves. The whole thing is properly acted with props and costumes, and it's a really good evening.
Fantastic. Well, just going back to the first canal then, I mean, was that seen as pioneering? What was the reaction? I mean, was it like us building the M1 in the 60s?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was met with a certain amount of derision to start with, because people didn't think it would work, but once it was proved that it would work, everybody wanted canals, and there were factories being built, there were canals being built and factories being built on the canals so that it made the transport so much easier. And in fact, if it hadn't been for the railways, that would have been, it just would have carried on. But of course, railways could carry the goods faster, further, more quickly, and the canals eventually became somewhat redundant. But yes, I mean, the first canal was certainly something which was eventually looked on as being an absolute innovation. We weren't the first to do it, mind you. There were canals in other countries as well. And the Canal du Midi in France was 100 years before our first canal, but that was a slightly different matter.
And no doubt in Holland.
That was taking peak traffic from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean.
And Holland, of course.
And Holland as well has canals, again in a different way. Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic. Any idea what the longest journey you can do now on a canal is then, and where it would be from till?
I couldn't tell you in miles, but it would be something like from London to probably Liverpool, I should think.
Oh, right. As far as that, that's fantastic.
Something like that.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
You're
Just
very
remind
welcome.
us, again, it's the Maltings Arts Theatre, isn't it?
That's right. Maltings Arts Centre tonight at 8 o'clock. We have support from two of the New Roots finalists from this year, the New Roots competition in St Albans, Danny Pedler and Rosie Butler Hall, lovely duo, who do English traditional and French tunes and English songs with a hurdy-gurdy an accordion and fiddle and so on. And Graham and I doing our show, Where the Working Boats Went.
All right.
8 o'clock at the Maltings Arts Theatre.
Thank you very much, Barry.
That's all right, Phil.
Bye.
Lovely to talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Cheers.